Something changed the moment Fernando Alonso stepped out of the AMR26, and almost nobody noticed it. Not the cameras, not the timing screens, not even most of the paddock. But the reaction on his face told a completely different story, one that could reshape the entire 2026 Formula One season before it even begins. Because when a driver with Alonso's experience sees something unusual in a brand new car, history says we should pay attention. And this time, the signal feels louder than anyone expected. The real shock isn't just that Aston Martin might be fast, it's why they might be fast, and who is responsible. Adrian Newey's quiet arrival has already started to bend the narrative of the new regulation era, and insiders are beginning to whisper the same uncomfortable question. What if the 2026 reset doesn't reset anything at all? What if it simply hands the advantage to the one designer who has dominated every modern Formula One revolution? Let that sink in for a second. Because this isn't normal preseason optimism. Alonso isn't a rookie chasing headlines or a driver exaggerating progress to build morale. He's seen championship cars. He's driven dominant machines. And he's also spent years inside projects that promised everything and delivered nothing. That perspective makes his recent tone impossible to ignore. Calm, measured, but unmistakably different. And here's where the tension begins to build. If Aston Martin truly understands the 2026 regulations earlier than everyone else, the competitive order could shift before the first race even starts. Not gradually, instantly. We've seen this movie before, 2009 with Brawn, 2014 with Mercedes, 2022 with Red Bull. Regulation resets don't reward the loudest team, they reward the most prepared one. And preparation is exactly where Newey's presence becomes dangerous. But here's the part nobody is talking about. The AMR26 doesn't just represent a new car. It represents a completely new philosophy inside Aston Martin. New infrastructure, new leadership structure, new technical direction. For years, the team chased performance in fragments. Now, everything is aligned toward a single goal, arriving at the regulation reset already understanding the answers. That's rare in Formula One. And when it happens, it usually ends in championships. So the real question isn't whether Aston Martin can improve. The real question is whether the rest of the grid is already too late. Think about the timing. Newey joining just before the biggest rule change in a generation. Alonso extending his career long enough to drive the result. Massive investment in facilities reaching completion at exactly the right moment. None of this feels accidental, it feels coordinated, strategic, almost inevitable. And that's what makes this moment unsettling for rival teams. Because dominance in Formula One rarely announces itself loudly. It appears quietly, in winter testing comments, in subtle driver confidence, in lap times that look ordinary until race day proves otherwise. The scariest cars in history didn't look unbeatable in February. They revealed their truth in March. Which brings us back to Alonso's reaction. Measured excitement from a veteran driver is more powerful than wild celebration from anyone else. It suggests belief built on data, not emotion. And belief like that spreads quickly inside a team. Engineers push harder, strategies become bolder, risk tolerance increases, momentum forms before a single point is scored. Momentum is everything in Formula One, and once it starts, stopping it becomes almost impossible. But before we go further, be honest. Do you actually believe Aston Martin can fight for the 2026 title? Or is this just another preseason illusion? I'm genuinely curious what you think, because the answer might define the next era of Formula One. Now here's where the story becomes even more uncomfortable for the established powers. Mercedes expected the regulation reset to bring them back. Ferrari believed stability would close the gap. Red Bull assumed their winning culture would carry forward. All logical assumptions, all historically reasonable. But regulation revolutions don't respect logic, they reward interpretation. And Newey has built an entire career on interpreting rules better than anyone else. That's the hidden fear spreading through the paddock right now. Not loud enough for headlines, but real enough to matter. Because if Aston Martin starts fast in 2026, the psychological impact alone could change the championship fight. Confidence shifts, development priorities scramble, pressure multiplies, and suddenly the team nobody feared becomes the team nobody can ignore. We've seen that transformation before, and it never ends quietly. Yet there's still a deeper layer to this story, one that makes Alonso's perspective even more important. time. At this stage of his career, Alonso isn't chasing potential. He's chasing legacy. Every remaining season matters. Every opportunity must be real. He simply doesn't have time for false hope. So if he sounds convinced, that might be the biggest clue of all. And this is where everything connects. New regulations, Newey's design philosophy, Aston Martin's investment, Alonso's urgency. None of these factors alone guarantee success. But together, they create something far more powerful: alignment. And alignment in Formula One is often the first sign of something historic forming beneath the surface. Still, uncertainty remains. Testing hides true pace. Fuel loads distort comparisons. Development curves change quickly. The AMR26 could still face problems no one sees yet. Formula One history is full of promising winters that collapsed under real competition. That uncertainty is what keeps this story balanced and dangerous. Because if Aston Martin fails, this moment disappears quietly. But if they succeed, this moment becomes the beginning of a new era. And that possibility is exactly why the paddock feels tense right now. You can sense it in interviews, in cautious language, in the way rivals avoid strong predictions. Nobody wants to admit fear before the season starts. But silence in Formula One often says more than words. So here we are, standing at the edge of a regulation revolution, watching a legendary designer join forces with one of the sport's most relentless drivers, inside a team finely equipped to fight at the front. That combination alone would be interesting. Under brand new rules, it becomes explosive. Which leads to the final question that really matters. Did Alonso just glimpse the future of Formula One? Or are we all about to watch another dream fade under reality? Because 2026 won't wait long to answer. And if this truly is the moment Aston Martin becomes a championship force, you'll want to understand the next hidden shift already forming behind the scenes. The one that could decide whether this project becomes dominance or disappointment. Watch the next video on your screen now. Because the AMR26 story is only just beginning, and the most important reveal hasn't happened yet.